10 minutes past 8. Good morning to you. My name is Ifeyemi Andrew, and let's get into our conversation. And so we had new Naira notes designed. And prior to the election, the old notes were supposed to have fizzled out and we're supposed to have been using the new notes. Well, it came with a lot of hardship. You could hear the groaning of Nigerians even in your sleep. And that led to certain adjustments. But eventually, the ultimate adjustment was that the old notes should run side by side with the new notes until the end of the year. It was the Supreme Court judgment that came. And as many were excited about it, in recent times, many have also come to realize that we can no longer see the new notes anywhere. I don't know if you've seen it or when the last time was that you saw the new notes, but what could be responsible for that? The idea was to have the new Naira notes side by side with the old Naira notes, and we have enough time to gradually withdraw the old notes before the deadline of December. Now, that seemed not to be the case. And even for the old notes, we cannot find new old notes. Most of them mutilated. You can almost barely recognize some of the notes that you see. But that is the case of the Naira in Nigeria at the moment. Add that to the recent suspension of the CBN governor and promises by President Tinubu to ensure a single exchange rate. How feasible is that? Well, we'll be having all of that and more on the show this morning with my guest, the national president of ASSBIFI, will be joining us this morning. For those who may not know, ASSBIFI is the Association of Senior Staff of Banks, Insurance, and Financial Institutions. Mr. Olusoji Oluwole. Sir, you are welcome and good morning to you. All right, so we're going to have a conversation around this morning. We need you to clarify a few things for us. I'd like to start first with the Naira. What is the situation with the new notes?
When this issue started a couple of months back, we came on air to challenge the CBN to tell Nigerians how much was actually printed, because at that time we did not believe that there was enough Naira notes to circulate round everybody according to their needs. But that information never came. And of course, we know the sensation that happened around it at that time, with banks' accusations flying back and forth until the Supreme Court judgment came, asking that the Naira notes, the old Naira notes, should run side by side, just like you mentioned now. Now, the unavailability of the new Naira notes, and when I say unavailability, I'm saying going into a bank and being able to withdraw, only buttresses what we said. It simply means that banks have practically run out of that currency and have had to revert to those ones. That being said, if we're talking about circulation, yes, from my own personal experience, I found situations where I've gone to stores or places where suddenly I find out that the new Naira notes form part of the change that I receive when I pay in cash. And in recent times, I also find out that in some ATMs, you will find a mix of the new Naira notes with the old ones, which means that probably the CBN is beginning to release them. However, we do not have any information that the new notes, more new notes have been printed. We do not have that information.
Mr. Oluwole, which state, if you can be more specific with the state that you saw the new Naira notes? Because here in Rivers State, for instance, I can almost tell you a lot of people, I for one, in fact, at the time when the new Naira note first came out, I only saw two of the notes. I only saw the 200 and the 500. I never saw the 1,000, so I don't know how it looks like. And then, as of recently, after that judgment from the Supreme Court, fast forward a couple of months now, I have not laid eyes on any of the new notes. And sampling opinions of many people and residents of Rivers State, here, Port Harcourt, the case is similar. They haven't seen. In fact, we only have the old notes in circulation, and those old notes are nothing to write home about. It's as though we can't even have new old notes. So if you can be more specific for us as to the place where you got to go and do transactions and see the new notes, because even in malls, the superstores and the rest of them, I still haven't seen the new notes. Even at ATMs, I haven't seen the new notes. PS operators don't have the new notes.
Yeah, so when I speak about being able to receive, so I go and I spend, say, 1,000 naira and I'm expecting to get 700 naira change. Once or twice, I found myself getting the old 500 and the new 200 naira note. It's not something that is very common, because what it simply means is that money is in circulation. Now, if we're talking about not seeing it or being unavailable, it could mean two things. The first is that people are not sure of what is going to happen in December. So what they are probably doing is that whatever new notes they have, they are simply keeping in hoping or believing that in December the Supreme Court judgment will come into effect. So we have cases that probably the new Naira notes are being hoarded, because I can tell you for free that I doubt if anybody who received the new notes at that time went to deposit the same in banks. So they probably have them under their beds and their pillows and in their wrappers all over their houses and all the rest of it. So there's a possibility of that. What you'll probably find are the ones that are still going around in circulation. I received a 200 naira note. I was shocked. I didn't believe that this was something that was printed a couple of months ago. It was almost getting to the point of mutilation. So you can imagine the amount of circulation that has gone through. But like I said, I've seen one or two situations, not me personally now, but people who went to draw cash at the ATM, and they found 2-3 pieces in what they withdrew from the ATM. So again, is it something that the banks have received from the CBN? We do not know. So if you have not seen it at all, I won't say that the experience is totally different in other states. What you'll probably find is that there are very, very minimal amounts of those notes going around in circulation. But I believe, shortly after the inauguration of the new government, there were reports and speculations that the government will review the cash policy, that a pronouncement will come out. And I think that if eventually there's a pronouncement that says that beyond the December 31st, the old currency will still be in circulation, I believe, and in fact I'm sure, that we will suddenly see the new notes coming out into circulation, which means that people have them in their possession.
A lot of people
use them at this point in time.
A lot of people will say, looking at the kind of situation we found ourselves, where people had to start even buying the Naira, the ideal thing would have been for more of the new Naira notes to be printed and put into circulation, so that we can gradually withdraw the old notes out of circulation before December, and not wait until close to the deadline and we start everybody rushing to the banks again. So if you can confirm for us, has the CBN been releasing these monies to banks? I mean, you have bankers in the association, different financial institutions. So I'm sure that you're privy to certain information. Has the CBN been releasing these monies to banks? Because you said that the association had complained at the early stages that not enough of this money was printed, even if the CBN made it look like it printed a lot and gave to banks, and banks were the one hoarding it. Now, what is the situation? Do banks get the new notes? Because I have spoken to a banker here in Port Harcourt who says they don't even get the new notes of the old Naira, not to talk of the new Naira notes. So what's the situation?
Well, we do not have reports of CBN releasing. Again, like we said at that time, if we go by what was reported to have been printed, our position then was that this was something that could be exhausted within weeks. So the report then was that about 500 billion naira worth of currency was printed at that time. What's 500 billion in a country of over 200 million people? So Is it that if CBN said that there was enough, they could only say that there was enough if they had released the entirety of what was printed. Now, back to what you said earlier on about the CBN printing the new ones in preparation for 31st of December. What we will want to even review is that, was that policy itself even necessary? And two, is that policy still relevant? Because remember, printing those new notes will come at a cost. If you are printing to gradually ease out, it means you are even going to print more than the old notes that we have currently. So the question will be, which one is going to fizzle out? Is it the new one or is it the old one? But again, we can only wait and hear what the government is going to come up with by the time they review the policy in its entirety.
Okay, before we go on to more questions, because the suspension of the CBN governor would come in here. But before we get to that, it's a question that we already have on Facebook, and we have the listener and our viewers on Facebook responding to it, and I'd like to get your own thoughts about it. Should we abandon the new notes and continue with the old notes?
Well,
because if clearly we're having problems with circulation, and we're not having any authority come out with a very definite statement with regards to the direction we're going with circulating the new notes, should we just remain with the old notes? In fact, some people felt the new notes were designed for political reasons, and hence the reason why there's a fire brigade approach to it, and it wasn't well thought out. So from your perspective and where we stand now, should we just continue with the old notes?
Yeah, well, like I said earlier on, what we need to know is if that policy itself is still relevant. If it is not relevant, then there's no point going through that expense of printing the new ones. Probably over time, they probably will start doing that and start retiring them. If you look at what happens in other countries in the world, they bring out new notes, but it takes time. It takes years for it to happen. Go to the United Kingdom today. You are going to find currency with King Charles on it. You are going to find currency with the late Queen Elizabeth on it. But they will not tell you that that it's no longer a legal tender. It's probably something that is going to go on and on for probably the next 10, 15
but
years.
that was the complaint. At the time, the CBN governor was making it look as though there must be a deadline, and if you do not meet that deadline, this is what's going to happen. People had said, why not allow this run side by side? And now that we have enough time to allow it, just a minute, now that we have enough time to allow it run side by side, it seems as though that is even not happening anymore.
When you say enough time, we're talking between now and December.
Well,
personally, my own personal opinion, it is still too short. It's still too short.
But are we doing enough in this short time?
I said you allow... I'm sorry?
Are we doing enough with this short time with regards to circulation of the new notes?
When we say short time, remember it was a Supreme Court judgment that said allow this thing to run side by side till December. It doesn't remove the power of the CBN or the government to now go back and review the policy. What the Supreme Court has said is extend it till 31st of December. It also means that between now and 31st of December, the policy could change. We have heard there are speculations now that the government is going to review this policy. If you recall, at that time, there were some state governors who were telling their citizens that they should go on and spend it and receive it, and that it would change. They said it authoritatively at that time. Now the question is, will that happen? We're just in June. Let's see what will happen. I believe that in the next couple of days or weeks, we will have a full government running with ministers and everybody in place and in position. Probably let's give them a little time and see what will come out after that. All
right, Mr. Oluwole, just stay on the line for us. We have a short commercial coming now. We'll go for that commercial. When we return, we'll continue with the conversation. In fact, directly we'll be speaking on the suspension of the CBN governor and its implications. Stay tuned and join us then.
The Kenneth Hagin's Remo Barber Training Center
Continues here on 92.3 Nigeria Info. My name is Ifeemi Andrew. Availability of the new Naira notes. We've been having that conversation. We'll also be talking about the suspension of the CBN governor and, well, plans by the Tinubu administration to ensure a single exchange rate. How possible that is something we're also going to address on the show this morning. And I've been speaking with the national president of ASSBIFI, Olusoji Oluwole. There's still quite a lot to talk about. You've heard his position as to reasons perhaps why we have the new notes not readily available as much as we would love it to. Many thought that would not be the case, but as the president of the Association of Senior Staff of Banks, Insurance and Financial Institutions, he says they've said over time that the CBN didn't print enough, but the CBN had said, banks perhaps were the ones holding this cash. And this happening now just goes to show that they were right at the time when they said not enough of the new notes were printed. Well, the CBN, in its defense, had also said before that the idea was to go to a cashless based economy. But then this brings us to the question why we now have a lot of the old notes in circulation if indeed the idea was to go cashless. Many would expect that we would also have a minimal amount of the old notes in circulation, right? Well, finding even the new old Naira notes is almost impossible, which signals the idea that perhaps printing off the old notes is not happening anytime soon as well. Before I go back to my guests, I'll take some of your comments on Facebook, and we also get to open the phone line. On Facebook, ASSBIFI says, good morning. I don't think there's anything called new Naira notes again because banks are not issuing it. You can't find it anywhere. Ohaji Henry says, CBN governor humiliated the people. Engineer Offroom Henry says, good morning. I think we should move on with the new old Naira notes and nothing more. Faith Akbaya says, what do you mean by the new Naira notes? It was strictly designed by the former CBN governor in order to embezzle funds while exchanging it to foreign account. But thank God our president will sweep off the evil plots. All right, those are your opinions on Facebook. Keep those messages coming in. On Facebook, the handle is Nigeria Info 92.3 PH. On Twitter, it is Nigeria Info PH. Don't forget, you can also send us WhatsApp messages, and you can do that using the number 0809 030 6416. Let me take that again. You can do that using the number 0809 030 6416. That is the WhatsApp number. So you can join us using a portal on WhatsApp. All right, we're going to get to my guest now who's on the line. Hello.
Hello.
All right, you can hear me now?
Yes, I can.
All right, Oluwole, thank you very much. Quickly, let's get on with the conversation. So recently, many have linked the design of the... Mr. Oluwole, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, it says many have linked the design of the new Naira notes and how it is all played out to what is currently befalling the CBN governor. The suspension of the CBN governor, what's your view about it and the impact that has on the financial system of the country at the moment?
The news came to everybody as a surprise, really, when it happened on Friday evening. However, when it was announced, a lot of people went, including me, to look at what the power of the president was to actually suspend the CBN governor. And going through the act talks about removal, but not about suspension. And if you recall, a similar thing happened with his predecessor, the former governor, Lamido Sanusi, who was also suspended by President Goodluck Jonathan. And it was tested in court. A court ruling was given that the president cannot remove the CBN governor, but can suspend him. And that judgment was never appealed. So I cannot say that it's been fully tested. Now, back to your question. I won't want to speculate on the reason, because yes, I've heard that about the currency exchange, about the exchange rate, about the availability of dollar, and so on and so forth. A lot of things have been speculated, but I want to believe that for the president to have given that kind of order, it means that he had enough information to be able to ask the governor to go on suspension. Now, going on suspension does not entirely mean guilt. Asking someone to go on suspension or go on leave simply means that you need to give room for proper investigation to go on unhindered. And that is the way I want to see it right now. We know that the CBN governor has been taken into custody. He's been questioned. Investigations will continue. What we hope and expect is that in the very, very near future, not taking too much time, the government should be able, or the security agencies should be able to come up and tell us what charges they have leveled and what they are basing those charges on.
Some think it's political.
Warranted the removal of the governor.
Some think it's political, especially if we look at the campaign building up to the election. We had the president at the time, candidate of the APC, presidential candidate, talking about how the fuel issue that we had at the time and the Naira redesign were targeted at him. That was the assumption that came. And now that this is happening, would you see any relationship between those?
I will be surprised. I will be surprised if that is a reason for a government in power to do that. I don't think that would be a responsible reason to give for it. You know, people have different interests. People have their different supporters, and people will come up with various forms of reasons and speculations. Yeah, some may be driven by it. There are those thoughts that will come. But ultimately, what matters is there actually a legal reason? Is there actually a moral reason for the action that was taken, irrespective of what may have driven it? Like I said, investigations are going on. We will find out soon enough. But I feel that if that is a reason or a major reason for doing it, then it will really not speak well. And you know, I was going through the news yesterday and found out that even the announcement itself had impact on Nigeria bonds, foreign bonds, on the Euro bonds. That a lot of people are now coming in, increasing their investment, increasing the debt that they are Nigeria's debt in the Euro bond. So it means that there is something that those people would have seen as well to have given them the kind of confidence to go on into to go and invest into Nigeria's bonds.
So in other words, you're saying his suspension at the moment is sending some positive signal with regards to investment in the economy of the country from a financial point of view.
Yeah, over the weekend it has. And considering that we had a long weekend, a holiday yesterday, and that was happening. So we will see how it will continue from today and what the impact will be as well. And which was why I said earlier on that the sooner the report on the investigations come out, the better for the nation.
Right.
So whatever comes up will remove every speculation about whether it's politically motivated or whether it's some kind of personal vendetta.
All right, before we go on to the next question, let me just put out the phone lines so the listener can call in and ask questions or make contributions on the show. 0817-923-0007. A very simple and direct question is what we're asking you this morning. Should the new Naira notes be abandoned? And should we continue using the old notes? Should we just abandon the new notes and continue with the old ones? That's the question, and that's what we want to know from you. 0817-923-0007 or 0817-923-0003. Those are the numbers you can call to be a part of the conversation. As you know already, the national president of ASSBIFI is with me via phone. Olusoji Oluwole is speaking with us, and you've been hearing his thoughts. ASSBIFI is the Association of Senior Staff of Banks, Insurance, and Financial Institutions. Promise from Remo Domaya. Welcome and good morning.
Yes, my brother. There's this saying that goes like this: that he who fails to plan has already planned to fail. before the circulation or before the new Naira notes should be implemented. They would have had a very concrete arrangement, which is to be done by Emefiele. It should have been arranged properly. The CBN will be receiving the old ones and circulating the old ones. So I put the whole blame on Emefiele. Despite what, you should plan. He who fails to plan has already planned to fail. So he has failed woefully. Thank you, Ejebu.
All right, Braid from Oginigba. Good morning.
Good morning.
You're welcome.
Yes, for me, I think it won't be wise for we to do away with the new Naira note because Nigeria has spent a lot of money to print that money. The CBN, if really that money was print enough, they should be able to bring it out. For I have only touched the 1,000 Naira. And if you go to the ATM stand, it's the old money you are receiving. And also, for the CBN governor to go into partisan politics, I think he has a question to answer. Thank you.
All right, Muriel is in Okrika. Good morning, Muriel.
Ekemi, good morning.
Morning to you.
Thank you. Ekemi, I don't think we should abandon the new Naira note. How can a country invest so much on something and yet abandon it? No. The money and the energy and the stress, the inconveniences we experience should not just be thrown away. I think the new Naira note should still be used. But just like you ask, what are they doing? They should not just dump it on us at the end of the year and say, okay, we are withdrawing. They should start withdrawing gradually and let's see more of the new note. That's the right thing to do. But I want to ask again, Ekemi, this is the first time I'm hearing of this union, the ASSBIFI. I don't even know how to pronounce it. And I know every union is formed to speak there and promote the interests of their members. But I want to know, when this Naira crunch happened, it affected them and it affected us too. It affected their banks. So what are they doing now? I want their leaders to tell us what are they doing to ensure that this thing doesn't happen again in December. Are they not talking? Nobody is speaking. Everybody just silent until when it gets to December, everything will just be dumped on us. What are they doing to continue to remind the government? Are they printing new ones? Are they dictating? They should tell us what are they doing so that this issue that happened last and the past and the Naira crunch will not happen again.
All right, Mr. Oluwole, I'm sure you heard that. We'll come to you so you respond shortly. But let's get to James.
No, I didn't. You may have to summarize it for me.
I would summarize that. No problem. James in LMA, good morning.
Good morning.
You're welcome, James.
Thank you. And I think the new Naira policy shouldn't be abandoned because you are spending a lot of money to print it. So definitely, the old and the new Naira note should go side by side, depending on when the new one will come in fully in circulation. Then to Emefiele, I think the man should pay dearly for it because he made most of us lost our wife for the hands of Okada boys. So I think he should pay dearly for it.
All right, James. Blessed Inalu, good morning.
Good morning, my brother in the studio.
Welcome, good morning.
The reprinting of the new Naira notes causes by the SMLA. What happened during that time? I don't know the kind of policy that are introduced to the country. When you are using 10,000 naira to print 5,000 naira, can't you know that Nigeria is going back to forward? We are going back. We are not moving forward. And besides, court said that money should be extended, the new Naira should be extended to the 1st of December 2023. If someone give you money now, someone give you 50,000 naira now, I'd let you find 1,000 naira new note there. What are we talking about? The old money they say we should not spend. That's the money we are spending again. And besides, when you see that the policy that introduced is not working, why can't you divert to another policy so that it can be okay? See, because of this cashless policy, many people die on the process of go and get money from the bank. Many people die in the money of say someone send me 10,000 naira. I go use 10,000 naira you use 5,000 naira to collect 10,000 naira. That you share the money into two. This is the middle of the year. Where are we heading to? This SMLA should face warrants of the law because many people have died because of this cashless policy. I mean, I'm telling the president, Mr. Tinubu, to do the needful, to refer this new Naira note again. We should continue spending the old Naira note so that Nigeria can be better than the way we think it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Blessed. We're going to take more calls in a matter of moments. But first, let me come to you, Mr. Oluwole. Some of the callers, the major focus is, well, we saw the rush and what happened. So they're wondering, for ASSBIFI, with all the financial institutions in that union, are you looking at taking steps to perhaps ask questions or take steps to see that these monies are released to banks? I mean, you have said yourself that there's no confirmation whether the CBN is releasing the new notes to banks. Are we going to wait until December and then we have the rush again? Is what they're asking. What is being done to address that so we do not get into that kind of situation by December 31?
Well, again, I will still repeat what I said earlier on. Let us give the new government time, a couple of weeks, and see what they will come up with. I do not believe, after the hardship that occurred, after the statements that were made by the governors, who, especially those who took CBN and the federal government to court at that time, and after the various pronouncements and all the things that happened, the attacks and all the rest, that happened at that time, I do not believe that this government will wait till that time before they say anything or do anything. I will be surprised. I will be surprised if they allow this same kind of hardship to occur again in December. So, like I said, let's give them time. Right. We're in June. Let's give them through this month, first half of this year, and see what happens.
All right, and now back to the CBN governor. Some others also have pointed fingers at the fact that he showed his interest to want to run for president even while he was CBN governor. What do you make of that move?
The laws were very clear about running for election, and I would have expected at that time that if indeed he did that. Well, of course, we heard that he collected forms, it was filled, it was submitted and all that. I believe that was the time that the government should have made the move that is being made now, because that matter should have been taken based on the CBN Act and taken to the Senate, because, he cannot be removed from office without getting a clear majority of, I think it's 2/3 or so majority of the Senate to have him removed. So the government should have taken the steps at that time to forestall what is going on at this point in time. But nothing happened. And it seemed everybody was fine with it, so to speak.
Importantly was the fact that this would not be the first time the news about the anti-graft agencies trying to get a hold of the CBN governor would come out. Remember, at that time as well, there were reports that, he had been arrested, he had left the country and all of that, if you remember. And he came out to say, well, he didn't go anywhere. That the trip wasn't running from anybody. He had those, I can't remember the excuse that was given at the time. But many began to question the influence the executive would have on the CBN. How much autonomy should the CBN have? You're in this sector and you see how this affects the activities of banks and all financial institutions. Are you satisfied with the level of autonomy the CBN has from the executive arm of government?
No, I'm not. But one is also worried about the quality of leadership that we also have in the CBN. In other climes, and I don't see why Nigeria should be different. If the CBN has indeed tried to exercise its autonomy, and there's undue interference, and I use that word carefully, undue interference in what is going on. Perhaps whoever is in the helm of affairs, seeing that there is interference in his job, I think we've gotten to a point where people should walk away if they feel that they are not being allowed to operate properly. But it also means that we must have people who will work passionately and without any fear or favor of anybody, without skewing their policies or their pronouncements to suit a particular group of people, a particular section of the country, or any other personal interests that they may have. And we've seen situations in other countries where the government, where the government in power faces the equivalent of their own CBN, and they go and with themselves because everybody has his own cutout. And at the end of the day, they're able to negotiate what is best and what happens. But when we look at the history of Nigeria, there is hardly any CBN governor that has not been removed either by a civilian government or military government. In fact, I believe that Mr. Emefiele is about the long-serving ever that we have had in this country. So
his term still isn't completed. I think he should be completing in July, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but so far he's even still the longest serving. I don't think anybody has served more than 5 or 6 years. So I think we've gotten to a point. I believe we've gotten to a point where government has to start. Also, who can efficiently the nominee governor
should have a hand.
Approved by the Senate.
Should they have a hand whatsoever as to how the CBN governor emerges?
One cannot entirely remove what their influence will be. I mean, yeah, they are the ones who nominate and send. It could be other bodies that could do it, but we cannot foreclose on some level of influence that will occur, because we're talking about appointing someone who is going to work with you. So if you go and bring somebody who is working at cross purposes with what the government has planned for the country itself, then it spells doom for the nation itself.
All right, let's take one
call. So
we
must also consider the fact that we need people on one side who will work effectively with the people on the other side. I mean, it's almost the same thing that you will find between the executive and the legislature.
All right. Before we wrap up, in the next 3, single exchange rate. It's a promise that has been made by President Tinubu. How feasible is that?
Well, when we say single exchange rate, for me, my own definition of single exchange rate is that if there is any disparity in rate, it will probably be very, very minimal. When I say minimal, we're probably talking about maybe 1% difference or 0.5 difference, which we'll find in various parts of the world. You go into a bank, it's probably different from what you find in a bureau exchange, but you'll find out you'll probably find that what you find a difference. Let's use the Nigerian Naira, for example, is that you'll probably find a difference of 50 kobo or 30 kobo or something. It is good. It was a nice pronouncement. I know that a lot of people immediately when they hear a single exchange rate, the first thing that goes to their mind is devaluation. But it doesn't necessarily have to mean devaluation. Because what is the first thing that causes devaluation of the currency or an increase in the exchange rate is the availability of the currency itself that you are talking about. Because if the demand is much higher than the supply, obviously the rate will go up because people are going to be bidding for these currencies. But we find a situation where there's a lot of pressure and so many things are causing it. One, the increased need for funding for exports, for tourism and all the rest of it. The second one is the unfortunate cases where people are hoarding the dollar. But people started speculating against Naira, or rather they were hedging and buying the dollar and keeping it. You do not have available or in action anywhere. And then the third one, which had to do with the petrol subsidy. A lot of money was spent in foreign exchange in doing that. So first, we've taken care of the subsidy part of it, which means that there's probably going to be availability of dollar. It may not meet the immediate demand. And then what we want to see is if people will begin to release funding into the system. Those are the things that will affect the value itself. But eventually we need to get there because operating 3 different types of currencies, it's quite distorting for businesses. It's quite distorting for the nation itself because even foreign investors scared about coming. I mean, let's just look at a simple one. Like the airlines cannot afford. Okay, and yet there's an agreement that says that we will sell tickets at your we'll sell your tickets using your currency, but we must be able to repatriate our funds to our country.
All right,
but that is not happening right now.
Thank you very much.
So those things need to those are the things that the government will come to speak with stakeholders before.
All right, Oluwole, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Go for a short commercial now.
paying rent? Would you like to own a house of your own? Stress no further, because with just 5 million naira, you can become a proud owner of a 2-bedroom apartment and 4-bedroom smart duplex in a smart area. Yes, you can. With just 5 million naira down payment, you can say bye-bye to house rent issues. Why not start today by investing in a apartment and balance with a year, 6 months? So wait for activate your access to luxury living by dialing 88892 or 76245. Don't forget, you can also invest in any of our landed properties in different locations. Pay us a visit today at Odibola House, Yenwali Surim Layout, Tumbia Extension, GRA Phase 3, Port Harcourt, or find out social media and win big in our Big Prize Guild Facebook at Odilopody, Price.
Announcement! MTN is back with a rate phone is for just 53,000 naira. That's right, I said 50,000 naira. But that's more. MTN's gonna free 1 gigabyte data and 100 bonus selected calls that you buy in the 6 months. The phone comes with a bullet van battery, dope design with all the good stuff like fingerprint and face unlock included. It's also available. So what are you waiting for? Visit the nearest MTN store to get you today, or visit website www.mt.ng/financing/. Hurry while stock lasts, because this deal wait. Terms and conditions apply.
MTN. What are we doing today?
Drink down, I just find it. Full speed ahead, no limits in my way. God don't make them my part. Nourishment to get spot. So I shine, I will go for it. No limits, go for it. Drink down, go for it.
You're tuned to your number one talk station, Nigeria Info.
Welcome back to the show.
All right, quickly as we wrap up, let's take some of your WhatsApp messages. This one says, "Good morning, Andrew. Joma texting from Alu. Regards to the new Naira saga, it only caused Nigerians pain and great loss. And again, the quality of the old note is far better than that of the new ones, coupled with the fact that new notes is even not available. Hence, it should be removed entirely. It did not improve our economy, rather it caused us harm." This person says, and as the CBN governor is arrested, it means the process of which the new notes came in was illegal. The suspension of the CBN is an understatement. They should pay back all we lost due to that policy. Where are the redesigned Naira notes in the country? Well, okay, what is the difference between them? In fact, it wasn't much. Was it not just color? Another person says, "Good morning, please. What are they talking about? The texture of that money?" Alan, this one says, "Ike from Owerri, I think the CBN should print and circulate more of the new notes to be able to replace the old ones by December as proposed. If not, all previous actions to introduce the new notes against the old notes will be branded as an act of wickedness on the masses." And this one says, "Truthful policy makes so many people become converse POS machines and it curb kidnappers." Look at it like, because we know how long it's dead, we cannot. I don't think it's fair to conclude and just jump on the fact that we stopped kidnapping, because at that time we're still institutions, including DBN, immediately challenges detention in court is innocent until proven guilty. 9% in that message, and will be the last we're taking this morning on Morning Crossfire. Drew is already with me in the studio for Hello Port Harcourt. Hi Jude, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Good morning. I'm going to follow the comment you've made, some of the responses we've been getting from your conversations, and then later on there's a big one as always every 11 o'clock.
I won't not miss the big one. You two don't miss it. And by the way, let me just say a big happy birthday to a very good friend of mine, Mrs. Abigail Omofase. Wishing you all the best. God bless you. My name is Femi Andrew. New at 9 next.
This